Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable it can feel to sit alone in a quiet room without distractions? No music, no phone, no company, just you and your thoughts? For many people, this moment of silence quickly turns into restlessness. You might find yourself reaching for your phone, turning on the TV, or even inventing small tasks to avoid the sensation of simply being alone. But why does this happen? Why does the mind sometimes treat solitude as if it were a danger? In this video, we are going to explore the psychology of loneliness, why being alone feels threatening for some and healing for others, and how you can learn to use solitude as a powerful tool for self-understanding. Let's start with something fundamental. Your brain is wired for connection. From an evolutionary perspective, being part of a group was essential for survival. Thousands of years ago, isolation from the tribe meant vulnerability. You couldn't hunt effectively, defend yourself from predators, or secure enough resources on your own. Because of this, the brain developed mechanisms to interpret loneliness as a warning signal. When you're alone, your nervous system can activate the same alarm systems it does when you're in physical danger. This is why loneliness often feels like a threat rather than a neutral state. But here's where things get interesting. The same brain that warns you against being alone is also capable of turning solitude into one of the most powerful states for growth. Psychologists describe this dual nature as the paradox of loneliness. On one side, prolonged unwanted isolation can be harmful, increasing stress, anxiety, and even physical health risks. On the other side, chosen solitude, the deliberate act of spending time with yourself, can be profoundly restorative, boosting creativity, clarity, and emotional resilience. The difference lies in how your mind interprets the experience. Imagine loneliness as a fire. Left uncontrolled, it can burn you, consuming your mental energy and creating emptiness. But when you learn to contain it, solitude becomes like a campfire, a source of warmth, reflection, and even light to see yourself more clearly. The question is, how do you move from fear of loneliness to embracing it as a tool? One reason we often resist being alone is that silence reveals what constant noise usually hides: our inner dialogue. When external distractions are gone, your thoughts suddenly become louder. You may notice unresolved worries, self-criticism, or feelings you've been avoiding. This is why many people rush to fill the silence, because being alone confronts them with parts of themselves they don't want to see. Yet, those very moments of discomfort are also opportunities. They are signals pointing to what your mind truly needs attention on. Solitude can become a mirror, reflecting back what you might have buried under routine and busyness. Philosophers throughout history have seen solitude not as a curse, but as a gateway. The Stoics, for example, practiced deliberate withdrawal from the crowd to reconnect with inner clarity. Michel de Montaigne, a Renaissance thinker, wrote extensively about retreating into solitude as a way of understanding one's mind. Even modern psychology supports this. Studies show that people who regularly spend mindful time alone often develop stronger emotional regulation and more stable self-esteem. Let's dig deeper into the brain's role in this process. When you're alone, two powerful networks in the brain become active. The first is the default mode network, which turns on during introspection, when you reflect on yourself, your memories, or your future. The second involves the creative centers that connect seemingly unrelated ideas. This is why many breakthroughs, whether artistic or scientific, often emerge in moments of solitude. But there's a catch. If your default mode network is dominated by self-criticism or worry, being alone will feel unbearable. If, however, you learn to gently guide your attention, solitude can shift from anxiety into insight. So how do you make that shift? The first step is reframing. Instead of thinking of being alone as being cut off, try to view it as a form of reconnection, not with the outside world, but with your own mind. This mental reframe changes loneliness from a punishment into a practice. The second step is starting small. You don't have to sit in silence for hours to benefit from solitude. Even 5 minutes of conscious, intentional alone time, without distractions, can begin to train your brain to accept stillness as safe. Think of it like building a muscle. At first, sitting alone may feel heavy, awkward, or even unbearable. But with practice, just as lifting weights gradually strengthens your body, moments of solitude strengthen your mental resilience. You are teaching your nervous system that silence is not a threat, but a resource. Over time, this reduces the automatic fear response and opens space for calm reflection. A practical way to approach this is through what psychologists call solitude exercises. One simple method is mindful observation. Try sitting quietly and focusing your attention on something ordinary, like the sound of your breathing or the play of light in the room. The goal isn't to suppress thoughts, but to notice them without running away. Another method is journaling. When you're alone, write down what thoughts and feelings come up. This creates a safe outlet for your inner dialogue, turning vague discomfort into words you can observe and understand. It's also worth noting that solitude doesn't have to mean absolute silence or isolation. It can be as simple as taking a walk alone without headphones, cooking by yourself while paying attention to the sensory details, or enjoying a quiet morning coffee before the world wakes up. What matters is the intention. You're choosing to be with yourself, not because no one else is around, but because you recognize the value in it. Many people ask, how do I know when solitude is helping me versus when it's harming me? The key difference lies in the outcome. If being alone leaves you feeling more drained, anxious, or disconnected, that's loneliness. Your brain is interpreting the isolation as a threat. But if you come out of the experience feeling lighter, clearer, or more centered, that's solitude working as a restorative force. Learning to notice this distinction helps you navigate when to seek company and when to lean into time alone. It's important here to acknowledge that fear of loneliness is not a personal flaw. It's a deeply human reaction rooted in biology. Your nervous system is simply doing its job, reminding you that connection is vital. What we're talking about is not replacing relationships with solitude, but balancing them. Healthy solitude doesn't compete with connection, it complements it. Just as sleep restores your body for the day ahead, time alone restores your mind for relationships and responsibilities. Without it, you risk losing touch with yourself. Some of the greatest thinkers and creators described solitude as the soil where their best ideas grew. Nikola Tesla would spend hours alone imagining inventions. Virginia Woolf spoke of a room of one's own as essential for creative work. Even today, psychologists argue that solitude is one of the few remaining spaces where genuine self-reflection can thrive in an overstimulated world. The challenge isn't that we lack opportunities to be alone, it's that we often run from them, filling every quiet moment with scrolling, notifications, or background noise. You might be wondering, if solitude has so many benefits, why does it remain so uncomfortable at first? The answer lies in habit. Your brain gets used to constant input, just like your body adapts to caffeine or sugar. When that input suddenly stops, the nervous system sends out alarm signals, boredom, restlessness, even anxiety. But if you resist the urge to immediately distract yourself, these signals fade, and what emerges is a quieter, more stable mental state. It's like sitting in a dark room. At first, you can't see anything, but as your eyes adjust, details begin to appear. The same happens with solitude. The longer you stay with it, the more you start to notice about yourself. This adjustment period is where most people give up, because discomfort feels like failure. But it's not. Discomfort is the bridge between avoidance and acceptance. When you recognize it as part of the process, you stop fighting it and instead walk through it. The result is access to a deeper layer of awareness that constant noise would never allow you to reach. Now let's connect this to your daily life. What if you treated solitude as a daily mental workout? Imagine carving out small pockets of time each day, just 10 minutes, to sit, reflect, or simply be. Over weeks, you'd likely notice subtle but powerful changes. Less dependence on external stimulation, greater clarity in decision-making, and a stronger sense of who you are beyond the roles you play for others. This is the heart of self-knowledge, not escaping the world, but balancing it with space to hear your own mind. And here's something crucial. Solitude is not about cutting yourself off from others, but about meeting yourself more fully, so you can return to relationships with more clarity and presence. In that sense, solitude is not selfish, it's deeply generous. It allows you to show up for others without being consumed by their expectations. It strengthens your boundaries, your sense of meaning, and your ability to stay grounded in a world that constantly pulls your attention outward. As you reflect on this, consider your own relationship with solitude. Do you avoid it? Do you crave it but rarely get it? Or do you embrace it but still feel uneasy? Wherever you are on that spectrum, know that you are not alone in the struggle. The fear of loneliness is a universal human experience, but learning to transform it into nourishing solitude is a skill, a practice that anyone can cultivate. In the next part of this video, we'll go even deeper into practical strategies to reshape your brain's relationship with solitude and how to turn being alone into one of the most powerful tools for self-discovery and inner peace. To build a healthier relationship with solitude, let's go through a practical toolkit that can help you retrain your brain to see time alone, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity. Think of these not as rigid steps, but as experiments you can try, adjusting them to your own life until they become second nature. The first tool is what we can call scheduled solitude. Just like you schedule meetings, workouts, or meals, make an intentional appointment with yourself. Start small, 10 minutes at a consistent time of day, perhaps in the morning before checking your phone or at night before bed. The brain responds well to predictability, and by making solitude a routine, you reduce the sense of uncertainty that triggers discomfort. Over time, this practice conditions your nervous system to associate solitude with safety and predictability instead of fear. The second tool is anchored reflection. Many people avoid being alone because they feel it leads to endless rumination, like replaying mistakes or worrying about the future. Anchored reflection prevents this spiral by giving your mind a simple focus point. For example, you can ask yourself one question each time you're alone. What's one thing I'm grateful for today? Or, what's one lesson I learned this week? By giving your thoughts a direction, you turn solitude into a constructive, structured activity rather than an uncontrolled flood of emotions. The third tool is creative solitude. Throughout history, solitude has been a catalyst for creativity, but you don't have to be an artist or inventor to benefit from it. Next time you're alone, use that time to brainstorm solutions to a problem, sketch ideas, or simply let your mind wander without the interruption of constant input. Research shows that when the brain isn't bombarded with external information, it naturally shifts into a mode that makes unexpected connections. This is where many insights and aha moments come from. Even something as simple as taking a walk without headphones can spark ideas your distracted mind would never uncover. The fourth tool is compassionate solitude. This is especially important if you tend to judge yourself harshly when you're alone. Instead of using that time to critique, use it to practice self-kindness. A simple exercise is to imagine you are sitting with a friend who feels the way you do. What words of comfort or encouragement would you offer them? Now, redirect that same compassion inward. By doing this regularly, you train your mind to replace the fear of self-criticism with a sense of safety in your own company. The fifth tool is sensory grounding. One reason solitude feels overwhelming is because the mind races unchecked. Grounding yourself in physical sensations can bring stability. Try focusing on the rhythm of your breathing, the texture of an object in your hands, or the sounds around you. By paying attention to sensory details, you anchor yourself in the present moment, reminding your brain that you are safe here and now. This not only calms anxiety but also deepens your ability to stay with yourself without escape. Over time, these practices reshape your relationship with solitude. Neuroscience tells us that repeated experiences literally rewire the brain through neuroplasticity. Every time you choose to sit with yourself, even for a few minutes, you are building new neural pathways that associate being alone with safety, calm, and even pleasure. What once felt threatening begins to feel natural and eventually nourishing. Now, let's address a common fear, the idea that embracing solitude means withdrawing from others. In reality, it's the opposite. By becoming comfortable in your own company, you remove the pressure to use relationships as a way of escaping yourself. This allows your connections to be based on genuine choice rather than need. You no longer seek others to fill a void. Instead, you meet them from a place of wholeness. In this way, solitude enhances your relationships by freeing them from dependency. It's also worth reflecting on the cultural narrative around solitude. In many modern societies, constant busyness is equated with value, and solitude is often mistaken for loneliness or failure. But in truth, solitude is a form of inner wealth. It's the ability to be enough for yourself without external validation. Redefining it this way shifts the entire experience. Instead of thinking, I am alone because something is missing, you can begin to think, I am alone because I am investing in myself. This reframing transforms solitude into empowerment. Another way to deepen your practice is through what could be called philosophical solitude. This involves using alone time not only for relaxation, but for contemplation. You might sit with questions like, what values truly guide my choices? Or, if no one were watching, how would I want to live? These are not questions to answer quickly but to carry with you, letting them shape your awareness over time. Such reflection can be uncomfortable at first, but it's also the foundation of a meaningful life. By daring to ask yourself these deeper questions in solitude, you access insights that no external distraction could ever provide. Of course, solitude is not a magic solution for every problem. There are times when what you need most is connection, and seeking company is just as valid and healthy as spending time alone. The art lies in balance, knowing when to step inward and when to step outward. You might think of it like breathing. Solitude is the inhale, connection is the exhale. One without the other would be incomplete, but together they create the rhythm of a healthy mental life. As you reflect on this, try an experiment. Over the next week, set aside just 10 minutes a day for intentional solitude. It could be sitting quietly, journaling, or walking without distractions. Pay attention to how you feel before and after. At first, you might notice resistance or restlessness, but don't judge it. See it as your nervous system adjusting. With repetition, you may start to notice a subtle shift, a growing sense of calm, clarity, or even appreciation for the silence. This is your mind learning that solitude is not a threat but a resource. Remember, the fear of being alone is one of the oldest instincts we carry as humans. But instincts are not destiny. By understanding how your brain interprets solitude and by practicing small, intentional steps, you can transform that fear into strength. Solitude can become your sanctuary, your mirror, and your guide. It can help you reconnect with yourself in a way that makes you stronger, not weaker, in the world of relationships, responsibilities, and noise. If this exploration resonated with you, and if you want to continue building a toolkit for better thinking, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who might benefit from it, and subscribe to Mind Unlocked. Together, we can keep turning psychology and philosophy into practical wisdom that helps you live with more clarity, resilience, and meaning.